Are you a scam? Why investors should put money into it? Tell me then why no financial report has been published for the entire period of SWC platform activity. Then why, having not yet completed the 15th stage of the project, are you launching another project for Humus production? What money do you live on in Dubai? Good afternoon. Today we have Alexey and Eugeny, co-founders of SWC, the largest community of private investors that support innovative startups. Welcome. Today we have quite a big interview because we have accumulated quite a large number of questions from your investors. And so, let's start from the beginning. How did it all start? This interview will be watched not only by people who have been with you since the beginning or for a long time, but also by people who don't know you at all. How did it all start? How did you meet?
It all started in 214. Until 214, a fairly long entrepreneurial path was passed in order to get acquainted with such a global and powerful project. Pretty much in 214, I didn't yet realize how global this project could be. Prior to that, my entrepreneurial journey started when I was 19 years old. At the age of 19, I came to Moscow. And in order to survive somehow, not only to live on that money my parents gave me, I had started my first business, which I've been doing for 6 years. And after this business, I had about 5 or 6 different projects where I took part both as an organizer of the business and as a partner, earning partnership fees.
Участие и как организатор этого бизнеса, и, собственно, как партнер, зарабатывая партнерские вознаграждения. Ну и, собственно, в 2014 году мой педагог, который меня обучал по инвестициям, он позвонил мне и сказал, что я приглашаю тебя на встречу, на которой выступит непосредственно главный инженер-разработчик струнных технологий, и таким образом расскажет о том проекте, который сейчас только стартует и которому необходимо финансирование для того, чтобы этот проект состоялся. Ну, я не с первого раза на самом деле поверил, что такие проекты вообще существуют, что это нормальный, классный проект, который будет развиваться там потом десятилетиями. Вот. Но на всякий случай, я посетил этот вебинар. На этом вебинаре я действительно влюбился в этот проект. Меня очень заинтересовала та концепция.
Well, actually, in 214, my investment tutor called me and told me that he was inviting me to a meeting where the chief engineer and developer of string technology was going to speak and talk about a project that was just starting up and needed funding to make it happen. It wasn't the first time I believed that such projects existed at all, and that this was a normal, cool project that would develop for decades. But just in case, I attended this webinar. This webinar is where I really fell in love with this project. I was very interested in the concept, approach, and AE answers to the questions he was asked live on air. He told how to build a string flyover, how to make a runway, how to make it cheaper, how to make it safer. And I realized that I was really listening to a very competent engineer who talks and gives examples from life. And so, at the first conference, which was in 2014, I got to know all the active participants who had started this project at that time, who had started crowdfunding in general. And on the second day, we had a behind-the-scenes meeting, where I met Alexey, but before that I knew him in absentia, because he was a person who was active everywhere in many entrepreneurial chats. We got to know each other, and then our way was already within the framework of one project. That's the story from my part. To make a long story short. Alexey, now it's your turn, tell.
It was interesting to listen to you. Pure nostalgia. I have been a traditional entrepreneur for a long time. I started a language translation agency from scratch, as I am a mechanical engineer by education, with advanced knowledge of the French. Moreover, mechanical engineer for agricultural machinery. And the thing is, I've always wanted something more. I wanted some extra game, courage, in business as well. And I was inspired by Donald Trump's phrase, "What would you do if you lost everything?" He was asked. He replied, "I would find a good network company and become a distributor, develop from scratch, and reach great heights." Laughter erupts from the audience, and Donald Trump says, "You're laughing for that very reason. You're in the audience and I'm here." I was interested in it. I started to study the network industry, and as a result, I participated in more than 10 different projects. There were record earnings, the first expensive watches, sometimes gifts were given by network companies. It all was interesting. And why I was able to play these networking games, I would say, because my business was giving me results. What's more, I entered the foreign market. I didn't scale it much. I focused more specifically on studying network projects. And in fact, I am familiar with all types of marketing. Here, I gave the example of Donald Trump for a reason. And he's not a stupid man, in all appearance. After all, he was the President of the United States. Of course, I wanted more. I started looking for a project, preferably an innovative breakthrough project that would shape a new technological reality. I visualized it just like that. I even recorded a video. And at the same time, I told myself that if I failed to find such project, I would leave the network marketing industry, although the success was not bad.
Формировать новую технологическую реальность. То есть я прямо вот так вот свизуализировал, даже видео записал. И заодно сказал, что если я не найду этот проект, я ухожу из индустрии сетевого маркетинга. Хотя успех был неплохой. То есть
Eugeny, many thanks for the compliment about Eliquare brand. Indeed, it had its value and had a good reputation in vContakte. And it is very important to carry a reputation through time. And then someone saw apparently this video, watched it in my groups. The first was an application from a young guy, not convincing one, to be honest, about string transport. This was in December, somewhere around the end of December 2013. And I kind of forgot, started doing other things, also running a language translation agency. Technically, by the way, it's also engineering. And further, my mate Sergey wrote to me, who said only one phrase, "Alex, look and pay attention, it's some great new company. They say it will probably be greater than Apple and Google put together." And like Eugeny, I went to the first webinar of A.E. Unitsky. It was in a small window. There was also a very bad sound, and I was visiting my mother-in-law at the weekend. Sunday, a day off, when I should be eating mother-in-law pies and salads. I listened with super bad sound, really straining my ears to hear every word Anatoly Eduardovich said, and I was amazed by this project. Next, I began to study, as a mechanical engineer, the documentation. The first book, a very serious one, I read on his subject was 100 Answers to 100 Questions. Of a technical nature, and I guess I can say now, as a nascent venture entrepreneur, I answered for myself that yes, this project could potentially work. I believed in it and began to spread this belief among those people who respected me. I didn't come to the first conference with empty hands. That is, within a month or so, a community was already formed, over 1,800 people. And that's where Eugeny and I met. I was on stage at the time among those who had been called, well, the best of the best.
Сообщество более 1800 людей, и там мы с Женей и познакомились. Я тогда находился на сцене среди тех, кого позвали, лучшие из лучших, типа того.
Тех, кого чествовали на сцене.
Мне значок тогда подарили, Транснет вроде бы, или, что-то такое, я не помню. Но это действительно реликвия, может быть, в будущем это будет иметь грандиозную ценность. И таким образом вот мы пересеклись, потом наши пути разошлись на время, и в 2015 году снова встретились, потому что так было суждено.
Okay. And then Skyworld community. What is it now, today? What is it to the world?
They gave me a badge then, Transnet, I think, or something like that, I don't remember. But it's really a relic. Maybe in the future it will be of great value. And so we came across, then our paths parted for a while. And in 2015 we met again because it was meant to be. Oh, this is a very important question. Because recently, in general, we have published a very serious document, SWC Meta Strategy. And at this point, we have a clear positioning. SWC is a global social venture ecosystem that brings together support from investors, venture enthusiasts from around the world to advance innovative projects such as string transport. And it is very important to understand why ecosystem, after all, what this concept means. In fact, the answer is simple. There are three directions, like three unities. It also has a certain sacred significance, but we won't talk about it today. So, the first one is the Fintech direction, the next one is the educational direction, that is, it is education technology. The third direction is community, it's a social direction, so it's social tech. And who's responsible for what? Eugeny will tell about Fintech.
Let's start with the first one. Fintech, what does it do? What is it?
В чем он заключается?
From the very beginning, when we designed our platform, we didn't try to use any third-party products to bundle them in-house and depend on multiple contractors that provide services. We did everything with our own hands and did everything from scratch and adapted our system to each of the requests we had. There were quite a lot of such requests, and we always realized that if we were to use developments, IT infrastructure borrowed from someone else, we will not be able to influence these things and speed up any processes.
И мы всегда понимали, что если мы будем использовать
Because we have been given a ready-made functionality, we have received it conditionally, we need to complete something, and we cannot do it technically. That is, our platform is that it creates this financial communication between the investor, between the platform itself, and between the projects that we finance. It's important to us, and we did it right away and realized that we would be developing for decades to come, and we understood what we needed to put into that base.
Уже теми проектами, которые мы финансируем.
Along the way, accordingly, if we talk about fintech again, we had various needs for making payments. Literally somewhere probably there in 2016, 17, 18, it was the heyday of cryptocurrency. And we also realized that we needed to create our own product to serve our entire ecosystem. And we did it. We're proud of this product. We will be presenting it to our community at some point in the near foreseeable future as well, and the community will get to know the cryptocurrency payment system. Well, actually, in general terms, that's what I've just told you about.
Нам необходимо создать свой собственный продукт, который бы обслуживал всю нашу экосистему. И мы это сделали, мы гордимся этим продуктом. В каком-то ближайшем обозримом будущем мы также это представим нашему сообществу, и сообщество познакомится с криптовалютной платежной системой. Ну, собственно, если говорить в целом, это вот то, о чем я сейчас рассказал.
What is fintech? Let's repeat it so that everyone could settle everything down. It is a sophisticated, complex personal account. As in modern banks and leading financial systems, it is end-to-end analytics. It is embedded algorithms. It is the ability to work with large databases, constant adaptation, modernization and improvement from our IT department. It is also a financial and legal scheme that fulfills all the norms of the requirements of the world legislation.
Yes, it's great, Alex, that you just said that. And on top of that, it also carries a tremendous amount of saved money that we don't spend by giving it away to different contractors, to different services. Because, well, let's take the following example. Let's say there is some kind of service. Yes, you pay this service for a year and a half, 2, 3. But at the same time, that service, it does not become yours. You're just paying rent. It's like renting a flat, and it's never yours. So anytime you move out of there, you don't have an asset. So everything we create, we make an asset out of it, an asset that we can also project onto the rest of the world, and give entrepreneurs the opportunity to use the products we create. These are SaaS projects which imply a commercial component at once. That is, if we like to use our products ourselves, and we really do them on a world-class level, we will gladly provide and deliver services for other businesses who will also want to use it all. I can confidently say that there is no single solution in the world that fully meets the requirements of a large social and financial venture ecosystem.
Мы с радостью будем предоставлять и оказывать услуги для других бизнесов, которым тоже захочется этим всем пользоваться. И я с уверенностью могу сказать, что в мире нет ни одного такого решения, которое бы полностью удовлетворяло требованиям крупной социально-финансовой венчурной экосистеме.
Yes, absolutely agree with Eugeny. It's fintech, it's edtech, and it's social tech. A lot of tech words, of course, but we're really a high-tech innovation company in the financial and social environment. So about edtech.
Education. Yes. Tell us about this direction, briefly.
In general, what is the global problem in the world today? Not everyone has access to high-quality education. Let's think of such an analogy, where a guy runs from one African village to another in order to study. But not everywhere there are such opportunities, not everywhere there are schools at all. And since the pandemic, the world has moved to an online format. Therefore, the concept of an online university of the profession of the future that can fulfill all the needs of the world and humanity was created. I think it's a definite good thing to give a person the opportunity to get the knowledge that they will either buy for a lot of money, but in our case, they enter the community and they begin to improve their skills, starting with the basic module. And then they start earning through the affiliate program, and they will have the opportunity to purchase the following modules at a fairly reasonable price in order to grow, develop, improve, and even join the SWC Premium Club in the future. That is, to work with large investors.
Here too, I'd like to add what the value is. You all see, everyone has YouTube, everyone has the internet. You open various training courses, one lecture, another, a third one. You can't put it all together in a single logical chain in order to apply it and get some financial result for yourself, for your life, to live on, to continue, so that you have some interest in where to apply it. Well, there's a problem. Yeah, there's a lot of training. People get a lot of training and then they kind of don't understand why, where to apply it. And we have our adaptation and training platform that we're creating. We're just creating it in collaboration with the fact that we're giving tools, we're giving all the things that will allow us to connect both training and practice and get skills together with us to develop.
Yes, Eugeny, absolutely right. And the online university of the profession of the future will always keep up with the times. For example, right now we're thinking of posting about artificial intelligence. It's a hot topic, isn't it? Many leading entrepreneurs need it too, because otherwise they'll be overtaken. That is, we cover all educational needs for a person, ranging from someone who is just developing in the field of education, a student, for example, someone takes some courses, to even with an entrepreneur. Employees of these entrepreneurs will upgrade their skills in order for companies to earn more. And of course, they will pay attention in this way to our global ecosystem without even investing in string transport.
So anyone can be trained there, step by step, whether they are related to your company or not.
Yes, the most interesting thing is it's our own IT platform. It's also a technology solution, and it has been developed for more than 2 years. Modern LMS systems did not suit us, so we developed our own, just like Eugeny said about the cryptocurrency financial solution.
Why didn't it suit you? Because SWC currently unites more than 180 countries. It's a huge amount of languages, it's a huge amount of mentality of their approach in different countries to business, to understanding, to everything. And that's a big problem indeed. Roughly, if you give one course and think that it will work, let's say for Indonesia, for Vietnam, for Europe, it won't. Everywhere we try to create such products and adjust to the mentality that has already been formed in the countries. And so that's the value of the platform. And the second value is that we can't take any LMS system that we can quickly adapt, assemble on a building set by buying, renting or whatever. So as Alex said, we create our own product, and this is our own product that will be used by other entrepreneurs who would like to reach out to international markets and gain attention from their audience.
Как и сказал Леша, что мы создаем свой продукт. И этот свой продукт которым будут пользоваться и другие предприниматели, которые бы хотели выходить на международные рынки и завоевывать внимание у своей аудитории.
Okay, that's all cool, but why? For what purpose? There are even elderly women among your investors. To be honest, why do they need it?
That's a very good question. A lot of people just don't understand at all what we're doing. This is funding for the largest industrial startup, scientific, global, innovative breakthrough technology, and indeed, perhaps humanity leap forward to the next level. And do you think it takes 600,000 people, 700, or 6 million, or 10 million to do that? And then how to achieve such a number if you don't study? And in fact, we are grateful to those who joined us in the beginning. And elderly women and men have a lot of experience. But these are not simple elderly women and men either, I can tell you. They have their own experience, and with the help of methodologists, pass on the knowledge to those who are now supporting the project. Because of course some methods work, some don't, but we are the first time in the world who are doing that no one has ever done before. This is the launch of the venture capital industry. So we are a venture social ecosystem. But it's worth remembering one thing. What the university online professions of the future allows you to learn from elderly women, elderly men, anyone, even a guy who ran from one African village to another just to borrow a smartphone from a friend, log on to Smart World Community and start their journey.
Любому человеку, даже парню, который побежал из одной деревни Африки в другую, просто чтобы у друга взять смартфон, зайти в Smart World Community и начать свой путь.
Sasha, I would like to add something here. The other side is the projects we fund. And the project should have confidence in us that we can provide this funding. One of the big components of any project is the operating expenses incurred by technology projects. We should strictly adhere to the financing schedule, and our partner, the company we finance, should be confident in us. And that is important. And Alex has already said correctly. And what kind of community should be created? At the moment, it's about 700,000 people, but we might need 6 million, maybe 100 million. And in order to realize our ideas in the world, we want to unite hundreds of millions of people. And we have the potential to do that.
Но нам, возможно, надо будет 6 миллионов, возможно, 100 миллионов. И для тех задумок, чтобы реализовать их вообще в мире, мы хотим объединить сотни миллионов человек. И у нас есть потенциал для этого.
How many, let's say, subscribers have big bloggers, sportsmen, famous football players? 600 million. Do they have an influence on what is happening in the world? These are the numbers we need to strive for. But without technology of an educational nature, this cannot be done.
Yeah, without a cool Hue quality product.
Are you a scam?
No.
Open your eyes, see what events have already happened in the world. Pandemic, geopolitics, and what we've done from scratch. By the way, we faced the first crisis in the initial stages of development and have already overcome it.
We have done everything that was planned, and now we are in the final 15th stage of development.
And how many companies have deed, both traditional businesses and just these scammers, fraudulent and pyramid scammies, and so on.
Answer. Then why, having not yet completed the 15th stage of the project, are you launching another project for humus production?
In general, it's a huge market because the main trend today is soil desertification. And it's not the desert we saw outside the studio. It's a reduction in micronutrients required for the soil. And it is already reaching critical levels of 3%. It's a huge market that it's foolish not to occupy. Therefore, on the contrary, we are grateful to Anatoly Eduardovich that he does not give this technology to venture entrepreneurs, start-uppers, namely those who have large capital. He trusts us. And we trust him because he has created the technology mankind needs, which will change agro and biotechnology forever, shaping the industry of the 21st century.
But the funding for this project, where is it coming from? Is it the same field or a separate field?
Sasha, this is a completely separate field that we are launching, and we give our investors the opportunity to participate in this new project. Plus, we are also advertising to the foreign market. We can't squander this project now because it's a global issue. And having looked at the internet, having listened at what the movers and shakers are talking about right now, this is really the problem that needs to be addressed right now. I'd like to give you a few figures here. If we start addressing this problem now, we can fix it all in 25, 30 years. I mean, desertification problem. But if we put that point 10, 15, 20 years ahead, it'll take a century, 100, 150 years. Therefore, our task is to start such projects as soon as possible, which will change this world and give us all cool, high-quality products that will contain all the necessary micronutrients. In this way, we will reduce the incidence of disease and immunity problems.
Как можно быстрее начинать такие проекты, которые, собственно, изменят этот мир и дадут нам всем с вами классные, качественные продукты, которые будут содержать все необходимые микроэлементы. Таким образом, мы снизим и заболеваемость, и проблемы с иммунитетом.
It is important to note that the production of humus and the construction of a plant for this purpose in Ras Al Khaimah is the first commercial project in the humus direction. It is not the creation of technology, because the technology has already been created, and it has a validation stages of more than 2 or 3 years. And yields have already been obtained, results have already been received, certification has been completed in the Republic of Belarus, and it will be implemented here in the Arab regions as well. So, unlike string transport, where we fund the technology, here the technology has already been created, and humus production in the form of a plant in Ras Al Khaimah is the first commercial project that will generate profits in the second year after production starts.
Okay, well, please explain for silly girls. Humus. What is it? Well, there are a lot of fertilizers now, manufacturing plants, everything is fine. What is the uniqueness of humus? Why it? Why investors should put money into it? I'm not quite sure what humus is yet, and I'd like to understand more about it. So humus solves the saturation problem?
The world is no longer back to pre-pandemic. Even before the pandemic, soil samples were collected from more than 100 countries around the world. It is a new relic type of fertile soil. All necessary tests have been done. There are no harmful contents in the soil at all. That is, it is something that did not exist in the world of agricultural agrobiotechnology science before the invention of Anatoly Eduardovich Unitsky. After all, there are only 7 notes. And look at the brilliant works everyone composes.
Everything we eat, everything we have on our tables, everything we feed our children and consume, 95% of all the food on the shop shelves is derived from growing vegetables, fruit, and whatever else. So, if what should be grown on will not contain micronutrients and will not give the necessary amount of minerals, vitamins, and all the elements necessary for human life, then we will just constantly walk around with jars of vitamins, minerals, and something else.
И всех необходимых для жизнедеятельности человека элементов, то мы просто, постоянно будем ходить с баночками витаминов, минералов, еще чего-то.
So it's already a proven technology?
Humus is just like a blood circulatory system that fills each of the fruits, vegetables with everything we need to make sure that we get the most valuable and important things out of those foods. And the pandemic, as Alex said, actually showed a lot of things, that about probably 20-30 vital elements are lacking in the blood and in general in human organisms. How was it discovered? This was revealed just when they were taking tests based on the pandemic, based on the fact that they needed to identify how to deal with coronavirus. The tests were taken from people and processed in large quantities. And it was done by an American company for American citizens in one of the most prosperous countries in the world. And what about other countries where the economy does not allow you to grow something of their own, where the land does not allow to farm? we can only guess.
Да, анализ крови брали и анализировали на большом количестве. И это на самом деле делала американская компания. И это было у американских граждан в одной из самых процветающих стран мира. А что говорить как бы о других странах, где экономика не позволяет там своего чего-то выращивать, где земли не позволяют заниматься земледелием? Остается только догадываться.
Yeah, in terms of tests, you were talking about the person. But what about the soil tests? If you take tests from the soil, it's sick in many parts of the world, and it is dying. This is a global problem. Unless you restore the fertile layer of soil and the technology of humus production created by Anatoly Eduardovich Unitsky can, with a sufficient irrigation system, make a fertile layer of soil necessary for the cultivation of all crops from the building sand. Would you like to live in a world where there was no threat of world hunger?
Взращивания всех сельскохозяйственных культур.
То есть
Хотели бы вы жить в таком мире, где не было бы угрозы мирового голода?
То есть это уже проверенная технология,
Evidence-based, can we find evidence that it actually helps the soil?
Конечно.
Sasha, you can come to Belarus, to Margina Gorka, to a peasant farm, and taste just such cool, amazing, and delicious fruits and vegetables. And they are all filled with essential microelements and microorganisms, everything necessary for human life. And so actually, the fact that we are now launching the first production, it should not be considered to be a business model, a business unit, just to look at it as some kind of production in order to make a profit from it. This is the first step towards a big global change in the world, because after the first production, we will be looking at the next country. Thus, we will not produce 10 million liters of liquid humus, we will produce billions of tons. In order for this global problem with soil and including hunger to be corrected worldwide, say,
жидкого гумуса, а мы будем производить миллиарды тонн для того, чтобы эта проблема глобальная с почвой и в том числе и голода, она исправлялась во всем мире.
We won't need to eat insects. It's no secret that in 2017, a UN organization recorded more than 3,500 species of insects that would be good for our food. Famous actresses you can find on YouTube were still advertising back then. What flavor is this or that cricket moth? I don't want to eat insects. I'd rather have worms. And welcome to the wormery on the territory of the peasant farm, Aquarelle. There you'll see what we think worms should be doing, to process lignite. Anatoly Eduardovich has bred a special kind of worms, even named them in a special way, which processes brown coal, and a layer of soil is formed, which is cut, and then humus is obtained.
Sasha, you know what I've noticed? Living here for a year and a half, you walk into a big hypermarket. There's really no shortage of food here, but it is impossible to select here a vegetable or fruit that you're really going to enjoy. I'll take tomatoes as an example, let's say. It's impossible to eat. I don't even know what that flavor can be compared to, but you're crunching something you don't understand. It looks like you're eating a tomato, but it might taste like a cucumber somewhere. So what we are doing and what we are producing and what we are talking about right now is what will give this naturalness. The naturalness is that 10, 15, 20 years ago, we would take a cucumber, a tomato, and not think about it. It was tasty. It was delicious vegetables and fruit. And now it's become a global problem, and we don't want to put up with this problem. We want to provide a solution because thousands of people are talking about it, but words don't change the situation and the world situation in any way. And we come with a solution. Here it is, the solution is on the surface, and you've already asked the question. It's really something that's already been tested. Yes, it's been around for years, and the development of this technology is going on for decades. And so we're going to use something organic and bio without phosphates, nitrates, all the harmful microorganisms and elements. That is an all-natural composition.
И ты уже задавала вопрос, это действительно уже то, что уже испытано, что уже... Да, это уже много лет существует. И эта разработка, этой технологии, ей уже десятки лет. И поэтому мы будем пользоваться тем, что органическое и что био, без фосфатов, нитратов и всех вредных микроорганизмов, элементов.
То есть
полностью
полностью
натуральный,
натуральный
да.
состав.
A, do I
Правильно
understand
понимаю,
correctly that
что
vegetables
овощи и
and fruit
фрукты,
grown with the
выращенные с
elixir,
помощью
humus, will be
эликсира,
available
хумуса,
to
да,
everyone? Because
будут
nowadays,
доступны всем,
vegetables
потому
and
что
fruit with
сейчас
real flavor
овощи,
are sold only
фрукты
in the premium
с
segment.
настоящим вкусом продаются только в премиальном сегменте.
And
Вот
will it
поможет
help
ли
solve this
он
problem in the
решить эту
future?
задачу в будущем?
I
Я не
don't
говорю
mean
прямо
right now, I
сейчас,
mean in the
а в
future.
будущем.
Availability of good
Хороших
products to
продуктов
any
для
segment of the
любого слоя
population.
населения.
Да,
Yes,
абсолютно. К этому
absolutely.
мы
That's what we're
и
striving
стремимся.
for.
Когда
When a
будет
comprehensive program of
реализована
launching mass
комплексная
production
программа
facilities to create
запуска
innovative
массового
humus is
производства
implemented,
по
the problem of
созданию
restoring the fertile soil
инновационного
layer will be
хумуса,
solved.
то будет
Consequently,
решена
farmers will
проблема
create more produce,
восстановления
provoking the
плодородного
price
слоя
to
почвы.
fall. It's like
Соответственно,
Viber,
фермеры
internet,
будут создавать
WhatsApp,
больше
Skype.
продукции,
We pay for the
провоцировать
service for the
падение
internet.
цены. Это, знаете,
Therefore,
как
a person should
Viber,
pay a
интернет,
minimum for
WhatsApp,
food if it is
Skype.
produced
Мы
in
платим
sufficient
за
quantities
услугу,
for the
за
whole of
интернет.
humanity.
Поэтому человек должен минимально платить за продукты питания, если их производится в достаточном количестве для всего человечества.
Я тоже хочу со
I
своей
also
стороны
want to
добавить,
add for my part that in the current market there are various soil additives, chemical constituents with which to grow.
добавки в почву,
But when we come out with a product that,
химические
at cost,
составляющие,
will be
при помощи
absolutely,
которых
one can say,
Но когда мы
the same as
выходим с
all other
продуктом,
products on this
который
market,
по
of course, the farmer will use environmentally friendly
абсолютно, можно
bioproducts and
сказать,
grow the
такой
most
же, как и
delicious, the
все
best,
остальные
the
продукты
most useful
на этом
products.
рынке. Конечно
And
же,
so on the
фермер
store
будет
shelves,
пользоваться
and with the help of our
экологически
community,
чистым
which will help us to
биопродуктом и
spread it in every
выращивать
country, we will replace all
самые
those, I don't
вкусные,
even know
самые
what
лучшие,
word to
самые
use.
полезные продукты. И таким образом на полках магазина и при помощи нашего сообщества, которое нам поможет растиражировать это в каждой стране. Соответственно, мы заменим все те, я даже не знаю, каким словом назвать,
A fake.
Fake products on store
на
shelves.
полках магазинов. И таким образом
And
мы
thus we assume
предполагаем,
that
что
yes,
да,
indeed, this
действительно,
will be
этим
used
будут
by
пользоваться
everyone, no
все,
matter what a
неважно,
person's
какое
budget
достоинство
is.
человека.
Yes, it's really great because you don't want to eat insects, but you want cucumbers like from your grandmother's garden. Are you effective managers?
То, что
What has
было
been created in the
создано
last 7 years, and for many people it's just not visible, it's all is under the guise, and in fact there's a comparison as follows. In order for a swan to swim so beautifully, it has to flail its feet very hard. So what's a foot flail? We have created a great team, an efficient team that promotes the whole project, helps in its progress. This is our construction department, this is the marketing PR department, this is also a financially large department, this is the technical department that provides infrastructure. And in fact, those words will probably mean nothing to many people. But let's look at the results that actually happened. We have funded almost all of the string transport technology already, so we are now in the final 15 stage. Along the way, we've created a lot of products that we will also give to our partners, those of our counterparties, who will want to use these products. That's where the effectiveness lies. Effectiveness in work, effectiveness solely in results. So to answer the question here directly is indeed possible. We have enough self-esteem to say it convincingly, yes, it is indeed true. But at the same time, we would like our community, all those who come in contact with us and deal with us, to open their eyes and look at these results and look at all these years that have been lived together. It's just tens of thousands of hours of webinars, presentations. It's a tremendous amount of information that we've given. We have united 180 countries around the world. Who else made it? What else is there to say? Will you put together
То есть
two?
отвечать на вопрос как бы здесь напрямую, да, нет, да, действительно можно, у нас как бы самооценки хватает, чтобы сказать это убедительно, да, это действительно так. Вот, но при этом мы бы хотели, чтобы наше сообщество, все те, кто с нами соприкасаются и имеют дело, они открыли глаза и посмотрели на эти результаты, и посмотрели на все эти годы, которые были прожиты вместе. Это просто десятки тысяч часов вебинаров, презентаций. Это огромная масса информации, которую мы дали. Мы объединили 180 стран мира. У кого это еще получилось? И что здесь еще можно сказать? Вы дважды два сложите.
And we should not forget that, frankly speaking, in order to launch a humus production line in such a short period of time as we did, a company cannot consist of inefficient employees. And sometimes we have to make unpopular decisions to part with some people. And no matter what we have in common, because we have taken a huge responsibility to the global world community that supports the project in which funding is attracted. But you've been preparing for the interview, haven't you? You've seen various warnings you can find on the internet, on regulators' websites, haven't you? You've seen it, analyzed it, haven't you? So why is this happening? What do you think? We simply made a tremendous result, using all absolutely legal ways in the legal financial scheme, in the logic of attracting investments, using the social capital of medium and small investors.
Юридической, финансовой схеме, в логике привлечения инвестиций, используя социальный капитал средних и мелких инвесторов.
And in fact, a lot of financial regulators are just afraid that this machine that we've created, this mechanism, is going to affect somehow even the economy of their country. And so, just in case, please note, and all the warnings thereof, we don't recommend the nature. So we don't forbid you, but we don't recommend it. Why don't they forbid it? Because we use, once again, as Alexey said, the most advanced legal methods, and these are the most legal ways to finance such projects.
Потому что мы используем, еще раз повторюсь, Леша сказал, самые передовые методы юридические, и это самые законные способы для того, чтобы финансировать такие проекты.
And do you think Uber wasn't banned in San Francisco? Or what city did it just start growing in? It was fought by taxi drivers because it was in their way. And who won?
Well, yeah, that's where Uber won. Uber simply found a way in which it was not a transport company, but a clearinghouse that connected the client and the taxi drivers themselves.
Центром, который соединял клиента непосредственно и самого таксиста. Да, да.
And we're actually connecting anyone on Earth to the opportunity to become a co-owner of the largest venture technology possibly in our lifetime.
Well, you basically answered the question. But tell me, former members of management, I mean, relationship with them has been terminated. Why?
Sasha, we can't afford many things. We, as management, should work with our projects that we are now promoting and bringing to market. We have a huge responsibility to all the investors who have put their trust in us, who have come through our social venture ecosystem, and any deviation from the course is a big risk for the project. It's a big risk for all investors. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand this. And for a lot of people, for our community, it looks like there was something so cool, and why was it taken away? Why did we part ways with these people? Precisely because we keep our focus on the goal, and we are clear about the tools we have and how we will achieve it.
Классное, крутое, и как бы почему убрали, почему мы расстались с этими людьми? Именно потому, что мы держим в фокусе цель, и мы четко понимаем, каким инструментарием и как мы ее достигнем.
And some things are just unacceptable. They are detrimental to attracting funding for the kind of project that we have taken responsibility for with the people we have in the community. Well, I am not talking about such moments as not coming to the coordination. These are special meetings that we held among ourselves, or simply failing the area of responsibility for which you were sincerely hoped for the development of, for example, a whole country. These are very serious failures and mistakes. We can't allow them to continue to repeat themselves. This will negatively impact the implementation of the startup that can save humanity.
Это негативно отразится на реализации того стартапа, который может спасти человечество.
To our community, our processes look like some kind of one unified monolith, that there's something going on over there. And that, in fact, is the fund itself. But there are many roles within the fund itself. Alexey and I, as co-founders of the fund, it is one role. I'm as a CEO, Alexey as a development director, it's the other role. It involves other responsibilities. And we also run the company, we run the employees. Both of us have subordinates. So, and here too, just for our community to be clear, we parted ways at the board member level, partner level, investor level, employee level. We haven't touched on that level. Therefore, it is now perceived as a whole entity. But all the conversation and all the conflict, and our parting was only for failure to fulfill the duties of a board member.
Чтобы наше сообщество четко понимало, мы расстались на уровне членов правления. Уровень партнера, инвестора, уровень сотрудника. Мы не затрагивали этот уровень. И поэтому это сейчас воспринимается как единым целым, но весь разговор и весь конфликт условно и наше расставание было только из-за неисполнения обязанностей члена правления.
We didn't actually have any organizational structure until 2020. And each of the board members did whoever they could. Whatever take upon themselves, they do. But when there were clearly delineated areas of responsibility, departments, divisions, sectors, sections, then it became clear who was working and who was resting or doing other things. And there were plenty of warnings before the removal from office was committed. And these warnings allowed to straight things out. But it's unacceptable when people don't hear, don't listen, and have no intention of getting better.
И эти предупреждения позволяли исправить положение дел. Но недопустимо, когда люди не слышат, не слушают и не собираются исправляться.
As I was preparing for the interview, studying your company online, to be honest, I have found some hate, some discontent. And it's clear that this discontent doesn't arise out of nothing, and someone is behind it. Do you admit that it is the former employees who are behind this?
Sasha, I wouldn't like to think that's the case.
We've come a long way with these people. We were even close friends once. We went to each other's houses, traveled to each other's countries, but when we became aware of the fact that people invited to other projects for some reason, although in general relations with them had not changed, when people started talking behind the backs, building coalitions, it hurts. And I think it's a kind of betrayal.
Sasha, and all this was despite the fact that they were still active members of the board, top managers in the company. There was just no other choice.
Let's move on to the most uncomfortable questions. The launch of the SWC Premium Club has now taken place. Some might interpret this as dividing the community into rich and poor. What is the essence of this direction? It costs money, doesn't it?
I'd like to ask you a question. What is the essence of the presentation of deluxe class cars? After all, there are other cars. And of course, there are those in our community who have already achieved a certain high result, are at the top marketing status within the community. And it is for them we have created this SWC Premium Club entity. But not only that, we also nurture big investors through it. To date, we have experienced so far, yes, admittedly, a shortage of those willing to invest large amounts into the project. But through the launch of the Premium Club, we have a clear mechanism and tool for working with an audience of potential tycoons, factory managers, factory creators, startups, creators, and many very successful people precisely in the logic and language of their communication and interaction. We explored what they are interested in and what they need. And we want to communicate, be friends, and interact with them.
Стартапов и многих весьма успешных людей именно в логике и на языке их общения и взаимодействия. Мы изучили, что им интересно и нужно. И мы хотим с ними коммуницировать, дружить и взаимодействовать.
Sasha, but I'd like to add here too, this is a kind of form of gratitude directly to those investors, those partners who have been with us for many years. And we really wanted to highlight the best of the best. We wanted to highlight and single them out. In any team, in any company, there are employees who work hard and produce the best results. And why shouldn't the manager see and reward these results?
И почему бы руководителю эти результаты не увидеть и не наградить?
On the other hand, it is a maximally effective marketing tool, which, by the way, either has minimal costs. The pre-party of Premium Club opening event in Moscow was actually paid for by the sponsor, or the tickets are purchased by the people themselves who plan to attend the event, such as the Dubai event. Interested people bought tickets, and we do not take funds from the general flow of attracted investment, and will never do that.
Заинтересованные покупали билеты, и мы не берем средства из общего потока привлекаемых инвестиций и никогда так не будем делать.
It's a completely sustainable event.
Our mission is to launch franchises of Sky World Community Premium Club worldwide. And in the future, we will also create a sense of engagement with the great impact effect. And so, impact effect will be a completely different story and will allow us to move into the top tier of heavyweights in the finance industry once we launch funding for our first commercial projects.
Категорию тяжеловесов финансовой индустрии.
The people who are rocking the boat, now using this counterbalance that there is a division between rich and poor, are the people who want this project fail to start. In any project, there are people who come, even after investing money, to prove that they were right, that sooner or later it will all die out. Here, look how it happened, and it's easy to take the role of victim.
Что это все рано или поздно когда-то загнется, вот посмотрите, как это произошло, и занять эту роль жертвы просто.
And no one will let you or me into the world elite today, for example, because we are not welcome there. Our premium club, on the other hand, which is the elite level of our community, is open to anyone. We, on the contrary, will be happy and excited if there are more and more people out there.
That is, one doesn't need to have some huge capitals and be some kind of unique person. One can just come by, paying a certain amount, visit the club, find out about you, about investments, and become that member quite easily and simply.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's true, yes.
There are no restrictions beyond the terms and conditions that we put out, but these are absolutely adequate circumstances.
Okay, Eugene, tell me then why no financial report has been published for the entire period of SWC platform activity.
Thank you for this question. I can really see the tension around this issue, but what am I trying to say here? SWC is not a publicly traded company. This is not a company that went on IPO and publishes quarterly, semi-annual or annual reports there. Our job is to take the investment from the investor, transfer that investment and document it. So, we fulfill our obligations on a monthly basis, as evidenced by the monthly extract from the register for each investor. Every investor who has invested, at the beginning of the next month, sees in their personal account an extract signed by the president of the group of companies, Anatoly Eduardovich Unitsky, that we have transferred this investment and thus fulfilled our obligations to the investor, AAA Sasha. We are on the right side of the law and abide by those laws. And that's important to us. We are building our social venture ecosystem for decades to come.
Alexey,
and so
why can't investors from the USA invest in your project?
In a year, 2, 5, 10 years
We have a
from now.
staff
We're
of
doing this for all
international
ages to
lawyers in
come.
our company, and there are a number of laws in a number of countries that prevent us from raising finance. We are clear on that. USA is also among those countries, until real commercial domestic projects emerge in a number of these countries. The reason is not even the interaction with bodies, such as the Security Exchange Commission, that is, the securities commissions. No. We just follow de rigore juris, observing the law and legal rules around the world, including in the USA.
Просто мы идем по букве закона, соблюдая закон и юридические нормы во всем мире, в том числе в США.
So in some states in the USA, it's simply prohibited?
We just don't go to the USA and forbid our partners to do so, because it is dangerous for the existing development of the project and can have a very negative impact on it.
Существующего развития проекта и может очень сильно негативно повлиять на него.
Sasha, well, imagine a huge big construction in the form of a track structure, where all the load on each support, on the station, on the rolling stock is mathematically calculated, how it will be, how much noise in decibels, how the passenger will feel directly inside, and it is still certified.
When will the first commercial project outside Belarus be implemented?
I'll remind you of our commitments. Our commitments are to provide stable, sustainable funding for the technology. UST's task is to find demand and implement commercial projects. Everything we can do, we do. To the best of our ability, we pass on contacts, leads, members of future potential projects, the initiators of these projects, and UST, also US Sky and DMCC, are already deciding for themselves whether to work on these areas or not, but there is already information on a number of countries in the public domain. I hope that this year we will see the launch of the first commercial projects. And what does launch mean? It's already funding the greatest extent of these commercial projects.
А что значит запуск? Это уже финансирование в наибольшей степени этих коммерческих проектов.
I would also like to add here that within 14 stages, half as much was done as stated. Look at all 15 stages of development, read, familiarize yourself, see for yourself what was included, what modes of transport. There are twice as many of these modes of transport at the moment than planned, and in fact, everything that's been done can be considered that very beginning. And how many more? What a plethora of projects are ahead of us. That's why we are creating the largest social venture ecosystem.
The interest is huge, that's for sure.
Then the next question arises, are there enough portions to complete this 15th stage?
Sasha, well, imagine a huge big construction in the form of a track structure, where all the load on each support, on the station, on the rolling stock is mathematically calculated, how it will be, how much noise in decibels, how the passenger will feel directly inside, and it is still certified. Well, it's impossible to imagine that A.E. Unitsky did not calculate the number of portions to sufficiently fund the technology. So I'm not a holder, we're not a registry, but we're convinced and we clearly know that there are enough portions for all 15 stages. Sasha, the logic was not laid down that we close the 15th stage and should sell everything completely, all the portions that were allocated for this. No. As always, there is a stock, and it's quite large.
Нет, запас, как всегда, он есть и достаточно большой.
I would like to dwell on such a very important point. What is stage 15? Stage 15 is already financing, completing the financing of the construction of the high-speed track, which means urban passenger transport and freight transport. They are, in fact, already ready for commercialization. Something is certified, something will be certified in the short run. So, in fact, yes, this is the most labor-intensive stage, but it is possible that we will pass it faster when just those commercial projects that you asked us about start to be implemented.
I would also like to add here that within 14 stages, half as much was done as stated. Look at all 15 stages of development, read, familiarize yourself, see for yourself what was included, what modes of transport. There are twice as many of these modes of transport at the moment than planned.
Sasha, the night gets darkest just before dawn. We've been through a lot already. Economic crises, geopolitical challenging situations, and this in different parts of the globe, and pandemic, there may be more to come, and the shutdown of production facilities of leading suppliers for string technologies, CJSC. We've overcome all that, despite the difficulties that came our way.
And in fact, everything that's been done can be considered that very beginning. And how many more? What a plethora of projects are ahead of us. That's why we are creating the largest social venture ecosystem.
Вот и для этого мы создаем самую крупную социально-венчурную экосистему.
And my task is to provide such tools and such efficiency of our ecosystem so that we not only fulfill the plan to close 15 stages of financing, but also exceed it, possibly attracting major investments. For example, $1 billion. Why not?
Крупные действительно инвестиции, например, $1 миллиард. Почему бы и да?
Absolutely agree. I'd like to add here something. Our next step with our investors is to build plants for the production of track structures and rolling stock in those countries where these projects will be developed.
Путевых структур и подвижных составов в тех странах, где будут развиваться эти проекты.
Nothing's gonna stop. People are creating a community here and now, not for a year or two. It's a decade. And Anatoly Eduardovich and us have already made a plan to develop those technologies that have a faster return on investment than the most difficult stage of development for us, which is the financing of string transport. Well, we had to start with the hardest part. We had to run on thin ice. But we went through all the trials and tribulations and overcame all obstacles.
Но мы добежали сквозь огонь, воду, медные трубы и преодолели все преграды.
I have one question left. People ask a lot online, what money do you live on in
На
Dubai?
какие деньги вы живете в Дубае?
Sasha, we live on our own money in Dubai, in Moscow. Alexey lives in Chelyabinsk, and in those countries that we go to actually visit on business or personal matters. It's all our own money, the money we make. We created, well, I will answer for myself. I created a financial cushion. I created sources of income that help me now to exist and feel comfortable. And among other things, we couldn't create SWC if we weren't earning anything here. Well, it's obvious, as anybody goes to work or creates something and still has, let's say, nothing to eat for 9 years. Well, it's hard to imagine.
Ну, это очевидно. То есть, кто приходит на работу или там вообще что-то создает и там 9 лет, допустим, голодом сидит. Ну, сложно это представить.
То есть
So
это
it's personal
личные
funds?
средства.
Это
It's
личные
earned
средства,
personal funds.
средства личные, да.
Sasha, let me rephrase the question a little bit in a different direction. Why was I living in Dubai for 9 months? There comes a period in a company when you realize that from Chelyabinsk, or even from Moscow, you can't reach those people who can transform the reality of our company and gain the necessary contacts. Here in Dubai, it can be done at arm's length. Meet the right people, visit yachts at your own expense, and expand your network of connections to improve our company operation. And in terms of why, for what purpose, I had my own working business in the beginning, and it just so happened that I learnt financial literacy lessons early on. I clearly understood that you can't spend everything right down to the last ruble. I should have a financial cushion, and then learnt how to multiply those funds. Some days I won, some days I lost, but nevertheless I can call myself a professional private investor. So even though we, as co-founders with Eugene, have not received anything from SWC for a year now, we have the means of living. Of course, it's not a luxury segment, but we don't live out in the sticks either. Otherwise, it would look at least a little strange. The founder of the largest social financial venture ecosystem lives in some remote area. What kind of big deals can we talk about? So we had to splurge on that too and choose more or less good districts, but combine certain golden mean.
Ну, иначе бы это было, выглядело как минимум странно. Основатель крупнейшей социальной, финансовой, венчурной экосистемы живет в каком-то отдаленном районе. О каких крупных сделках можно говорить? Поэтому и на это приходилось раскошеливаться и выбирать более-менее район. Но совмещать определенные середины золотые.
So you live in Dubai to develop the community, but you do it with personal funds?
Для того, чтобы развивать комьюнити, но делаете это на личные средства.
I live in Chelyabinsk. I've been living in Dubai for more than 8 months in order to gain the contacts we lacked, to meet the right people. And now I live in Chelyabinsk, traveling around the world to develop our business. I hold conferences and travel to other countries for solving various tasks
по разным задачам перемещаюсь в другие страны.
Sasha, we live where we need to live.
If it is necessary to go to another country, who else but us? After all, we took responsibility for the result to hundreds of thousands of people.
And, of course, we won't advertise other projects if we run out of our own funds.
And now to finish off, can you reach out to everyone who watches us and convey whether they should join your project or not?
Донести, стоит ли им присоединяться к вашему проекту?
Sasha, we've been doing everything for the last 8 years. If we talk about the date when Skyworld Community was born, to communicate our values, to communicate what we create, certainly we cannot urge and say, yes, for sure, run, join us. But we urge to sort it out, look at it, observe us, and look at the path that has already been traveled and evaluate the result that has been made. What else do I want to say here? That you can also be a part of this big and great cause.
И посмотрите то, что какой путь уже был пройден, и оцените тот результат, который был сделан. Что я хочу сюда еще сказать? Что вы также можете быть сопричастными вот к этому большому и великому делу.
Everyone, in my opinion, will decide for themselves when, why, how much, and whether it is worth it. We are creating and will continue to create all the tools for that, and they are quite extensive for every category of people. But I will remind you of the development of cryptocurrencies. Once upon a time, too, those Bitcoin pioneers were asked what they were even doing and why they were doing it. But they didn't have what we have now. That Fintech direction, okay, it was there. But there was no educational direction. There was no social direction. We analyzed what the global world communities did not have in their early stage of development, improved it, and added it. So now, those who will be joining USH will be able to adapt easily, quickly, and achieve success in this business line. Well, and in the future, perhaps change entire economies of their countries. So it's up to each person to decide. But there will come a time when many will ask, but how to get a portion? And are there any of those portions left at all? Because the industry that is breakthrough transforms our reality and gives the maximum benefit to humanity. It has the maximum potential capitalization. Why? Future capitalization of the company where everyone can be involved is the applause of the world for the benefit that this technology brings. It is, to our opinion, colossal. We create the future and finance it. Sky World Community.
Будущая капитализация компаний, которые все могут быть причастными, это аплодисменты мира за ту пользу, которую данная технология несет. Она, на наш взгляд, колоссальна. Мы создаем и финансируем будущее. Sky World Community.
Thank you very much for this interview, and see you next time.
Thank you, Sasha, for bringing us together.
Thank you. While it was certainly exciting to answer uncomfortable questions, we can answer any questions. Thank you for asking them.